All right. Good evening, everyone. I I can't see you, but I just wanted to welcome you to the Hurston Wright Foundation. To start off. This is our first micro class of the week, and we're delighted to present Alexis Pauline Gumbs to all of you. My name is Abdul Ali, and I will be your host for the evening. And I just want to give a shout out to our wonderful team. Natasha, if you are in the room, can you give us a shout from the chats? Jessica, our board chair, Audrey. It's great to be in the room with all of you. I don't want to take up too much time, but I just want to say that I'm really, really, really excited to see so many people in the room. I see that some of you are from all parts of the U.S., over the pond, so welcome. I hope that you will become a part of our family. Don't let this be your last time engaging with the Hurston Wright Foundation. So, I want to introduce this evening's feature. And get this party started, as it were. All right, so Alexis Pauline Gumbs is an aspirational cousin to all sentient beings and the co-founder of the Mobile Homecoming Trust in Durham, North Carolina. She is the author of Spill: Scenes of Black Feminist Fugitivity, M Archive, After the End of the World, and Dub, Finding Ceremony, and co-editor of Revolutionary Mothering, Love on the Front Lines. She is also creative writing editor at Feminist Studies and a 2021 National Humanities Fellow, working on a biography of the eternal life of Audre Lorde. Can we just pause and that's just awesome. All of that in 4 lines. Some people don't get to do that in a career. So I'm going to I'm going to bring Alexis to you all.
Hi.
Hi there. Welcome back. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to go away, and this is going to be your stage. We're all here for you. All right. So let me know if you need anything. But I am, yeah, like the song says, "Ain't no mountain high enough," you know.
Very supported. Hi, everyone. I am so excited that I get to be with you all. Beyond excited to be part of the Hurston Wright Foundation's annual Writers Week. This is a huge deal for me. I have this necklace on, which was created by Joy KMT, Immaculate Blackness. And I just feel like Zora Neale Hurston would love Immaculate Blackness to be just with us this entire time. And just so grateful for everything that the Hurston Wright Foundation does. So I have been asked to read a little example of my own work to ground us, and there are ways that I love to start. So even though I'm seeing you all through the chat, I would love it if we could just take 3 breaths together. I'm putting my feet on the ground. Maybe you can get 15% more comfortable than you already are, wherever you are. And I'm going to mark my inhale and my exhale. You can breathe with me. You can breathe at your own pace. So inhaling and exhaling. And inhaling and exhaling. And inhaling and exhaling. Yes, we are here. And Hurston Wright folks, just so you know, some folks in the chat cannot see the screen, and some folks can't. So just to check on that. And so the other thing that I would love for us to do to bring ourselves into the space is to dedicate our participation tonight to someone who is not watching this with you, not necessarily in the room with you, but who, when you think about your creative practice as ceremony, is somebody who has everything to do with that for you. It could be a great teacher of yours. It could be a young person who inspires you in your creative practice. It could be someone who's living now. It could be somebody who has lived before. Anybody, basically, except for you and me and whoever you know is in the room digitally or physically with you. I'm dedicating my practice to my partner, Shango Dare, who is my primary creative collaborator, is the person who reminds me that everything we're doing from a place of deep love, and that it is actually a spiritual honor to get to be creative in and with and for our communities. I'm especially thinking about Shango Dare because we are in the path of the tropical storm and we've been experiencing some lightning. The name Shango Dare means favorite child of the lightning or darling of the lightning, and honors Shango in the Yoruba tradition, who is definitely making himself known in this moment. So that's my dedication. I would love for you to share who you're dedicating to in the chat while I read this opening piece. So if you could just share your dedication, you can share their name, you can share a little bit about why if you want, and we welcome everyone who inspires you, everyone who has loved you into this moment. And I'm just going to read the first 3 short pieces from this book, Dub Finding Ceremony, which is inspired by the work of Sylvia Wynter, and which is an ancestral listening text and really is grounding what I'm talking about tonight with writing as ceremony. Request. We would like it if you wrote us poems. We would like it if you wrote us long life sentences. We would like it if you broke sentences and gave us more life than you or we were told could be contained. We would like it if you remained. We would like it if you showed up every day. We would like it if you drank water. We would love it if you would turn off your phone. We would sincerely appreciate it if you stopped pretending to be alone. Commitment. We promise to wake you up if we think you won't get the point of the dream. We promise to show up if you show up every day. We promise to make you feel sick when you lie to yourself. We promise to let love through if it's love you came to do. We promise to make time flexible if you give us all your time. We promise to think of you more often than you think of us. We promise to remember you when you forget. We promise to be wherever and in everything you haven't noticed yet. We promise to be we, even one by one. We promise to outsmart your mind. We promise to overlove your heart. We promise to echo over your voice. We promise you everything, everything, all we ask. And instructions. Tell them about the Eastern Shore and running. Tell them about underneath the boat, the hard shell breaking open, the land so wet it's water, the water so hard we live on it most of the day. Tell them how we left and how we stayed. Tell them about the whales, but tell them using the oyster shells. Tell them about wampum and waiting. Tell them about the salted dirt within you. Tell them how we found each other again. Tell them about the shells. Tell them about the giant turtle shells Tell them about the soup we made in shells when we needed armor. Tell them why we needed armor and what we did before the harm. Tell them about flint, magic, coral, God, and fire, and what we left to tell the tale. Tell them about the whales and how they sang, how they swam next to us singing, how they breathed, sometimes bigger than the boats, what they taught us about evolution, how they clicked, sometimes louder than the chains, how they taught us to make time out of salt, how they deepened our lungs, opened the top of our heads, how they made their whole bodies into drums to show us how it would be. Tell them who taught you to dream, to stay, to breathe, and then show them who taught you to leave. Okay, so that's from Dove. I guess I have a link for you to buy it. That's convenient for you. And I'm really honored to be seeing all these beautiful dedications. I saw a dedication to some of my mentors. I saw Jackie Alexander in there, Omio Shun, so many loved ones. And I'm just so grateful. There's 200 of us, more than 200 of us together right now. And that in and of itself is really affirming that there are so many of us who are excited to commit to our creative practice. And so this is like a redux because this micro class is for real micro. It is 15 minutes of class and then 20 minutes of question and answer, but I'm super excited about your questions. But what I really wanted to offer was something that you can use. Yes, for real micro. Something that you can use for your own practice, something that you could use on a daily basis if you wanted. To me, it's akin to what I have witnessed and practiced in all of the earth-based spiritual traditions I've ever noticed, but in particular, the ones that I've been honored to be a part of, a prayer that actually opens the space for communication. Like, could we make that for ourselves in our own way? Could we have our own invocation set of words that for us opens our practice as a sacred practice? And I'm very inspired in some work that I've gotten to collaborate on with Shango Dare, who I mentioned, with my namesake, Alexis DeVoe. We created a workshop together for the Fire and Ink Cotillion on Witness in Detroit several years ago. And this was the same question we had. How can we invite everyone to activate in their own words, in their own way, their practice? So that's what we're gonna do. And I'm inspired in this by June Jordan. And I'm gonna read a little bit of my favorite essay by June Jordan, which is called The Creative Spirit. It's a talk she gave at Berkeley in 1977. And we had the honor to put it in print. It's published in Revolutionary Mothering, Love on the Front Lines. And June Jordan is everything. I can't teach you everything I want to teach you about June Jordan in 0 minutes, but I will tell you that another part of the reason that I was really excited to invoke her name tonight for Hurston Writers Week is because she wrote this incredible essay in The Black World where she writes about Zora Neale Hurston and Richard Wright and really contrasts their writing in a powerful way. So I think that she would want to be here, and boom, she is. So this essay, The Creative Spirit, starts with these words. Love is life force. I believe that the creative spirit is nothing less than love made manifest. I love that. And I would read you the whole thing, except I got to get to this excerpt, which is where she talks about, I'll let her say it herself. What I know is that the creative spirit is real, beyond you or me. In my own life as a poet, and in the lives of many of my students, for instance, it has happened more than once in a while that an entire poem will be given, and or that a completely formulated fictional character will be given to us. This process or this kind of an event by no means represents a mainstay of our productivity, but it does occur often enough to keep you humble, to let you realize that the creative spirit is as much a process depending on your receptivity as it is a process depending on your willful conjuring up or your willful projection of visual or oral or verbal constructs for which we would like to feel proudly responsible. And so I wanted to offer those words because the thing about it is, there's so many incredible classes this week. There is absolutely, for me, an emphasis on craft as a writer. There's an emphasis for me on practice. There's an emphasis for me on showing up every day and continuing to study and reading and rereading June Jordan and Alexis DeVoe and the many people, Zora Neale Hurston, who I feel just knew what they were doing. But what brings me back to that work again and again is the spirit that moves through it. So how do we open ourselves, that receptivity to the energy that wants to move through into our creative practice, whatever that is? And so this is super short exercise in that. You already did a very, very important part of it, which is the dedication that you offered. So for me, part of what makes anything that we do, part of what makes our creative practice sacred is that it's always connected by love to someone else. And once we've activated that, once we've reminded ourselves that, yes, I am a portal and I can bring the energy of someone who lives now across the planet, someone who lived before, someone who I've never even met, I can actually bring that energy into this space. I'm doing the creative practice, right? I'm actually acknowledging the power that I can bring through because it's not an individual power. It's not about my individual genius. It's about the fact that I can connect to someone beyond this moment, which is what my writing will do, which is what your painting will do, which is what you are practicing when you do anything creative. Yes? Yes, I'm just going to imagine that you all said yes. Okay, so the dedication is a huge, huge part of this. And I'll say this is the energy that made me want to become a writer, was reading Zora Neale Hurston's words, Jamie under the pear tree, and their eyes were watching God. And I felt it in my 12-year-old bedroom. And I was like, wait a minute, Zora Neale Hurston died many years ago, but she's having an impact on me right now. This is what I'm interested in. This is what my life is going to be about, because this is the most inspiring form of power that I had witnessed. So thank you again. Thank you, Zora Neale Hurston. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so we're going to do, because we have 6 minutes, we going to do some little mini activities. So I want you to have your pen. I want you to have your notebook. I have mine right here. And we're going to do some fill in the blank work that comes from, this same creative spirit essay by June Jordan, right? So June Jordan said, I believe that the creative spirit is nothing less than love made manifest. And this is going to be a 1-minute intention setting for the purpose of your creative practice. And so we're going to take a minute and you're going to just fill in the blank. Blank made manifest. My creative practice is blank made manifest. Peace made manifest. Justice made manifest. You can write it in your notebook. You can write it in the chat. I'm going to be quiet for a full minute. What made manifest. The purpose of your practice. And I'm going to turn on another light because it's getting dark in here. Mm-hmm. Growth made manifest. Life made manifest. Justice made manifest. Healing made manifest. Freedom, beauty, belonging, harmony, change. So much healing, so much freedom. Communion, ancestry, revelation, wonder, transcendence, compassion, abundance, magic, evolution, devotion, surrender, voice, courage, wholeness, liberation, truth, mothering, made manifest. I love these. I love these. And they're right there, right? And so as you continue to do this, and for your small ritual that you're making for yourself, now we have 2 steps, right? We have dedication in the sense of who is it that I'm dedicating my practice to today? And then we have dedication, which what is the purpose of my creative practice? What does it bring into the world? Legacy made manifest. Celebration made manifest. Yes? So we're giving ourselves permission to know the power of what we're doing, but we're also letting ourselves and all the energy that surrounds us how to be. If it's celebration made manifest, then I'm not going to be in a struggle mode of writing today, right? If it's legacy made manifest, I understand that I have my folks with me. Ease, dreams. This is what is at stake in our creative practice. Okay, I have more to say, but let's do the next one. So something that I love about this essay that June Jordan wrote, and part of why it serves as the ancestral introduction to our book, Revolutionary Mothering, Love on the Front Lines, is that it's about children's literature, which she uses as the central form for all creativity, which is revolutionary, first of all, in and of itself. And if you haven't gotten a chance to read June Jordan's children's books, I would say, please do. And she talks about what's important and as at stake in this is as this line that I love in the essay. Children are the way that the world begins again and again. I love that. The clarity that those people who she's speaking to, who have the privilege of writing children's literature, they are participating in the way the world begins again and again. This is mothering. We're participating in the way that the world begins again and again. And conceptually, we understand that that means that the world can begin again. And this is the reset function that my daily sacred approach to creative practice offers. And so I would like us to engage an activity inspired by this idea of beginning again and again. And so this one is a 2-line fill in the blank. First line is, I release blank. I begin with blank. Okay, so you can do this in the chat, and you can do this in your notebook also. For example, I release judgment. I begin with grace. I release fear. I begin with love. I release shame. I begin with gratitude. I release what Toni Morrison called the white editor on my shoulder, and I begin with Black love. This is a clarification. The opportunity that we got, dedication, dedication, and dedication, because dedication is how we name our accountability. Dedication is how we name the purpose of our work. And then this third form of dedication is how we clear the space of what this is not about, and we claim that we can start right here. We can start right here where we want to start. Yes? And it's informed by the purpose of our work. If my creative practice is about ease made manifest, I'm releasing struggle. I'm beginning with joy. I'm releasing the tension in my shoulders. I'm beginning with my open hands. Yeah? Oh, I love these. I release condemnation. I begin with tenderness. I release trauma. I begin with myself. Can you all feel the revolutionary reclaiming that's happening in the chat already? I release pleasing, power, and hierarchy. I begin with right relation and community. I love these. Oh, I love every single one of these. Okay, so this is the last thing that we're gonna do. And this is an opportunity for you to just put, I'm calling this rigor, right? Because when June Jordan says, I believe that the creative spirit is nothing less than love made manifest, she's talking about what a big deal creativity is. It's nothing less than love made manifest. But then there's also the rigor that we can apply that replaces the rigor of internalized oppression that says we're never good enough. No matter what we create, it's never going to be good enough. And then we cut ourselves off before we can even tap into creation. It's saying this is love. This is nothing less than love. I am not here to hear myself say something smart. This is about an experience of love. I don't know if you all can hear the rain. I'm in the midst of a tropical storm, and I will say that my grandmother speaks through rain. It was known in Anguilla, where she was from, that she could cause it to rain, which was a big idea, a big deal in a place of drought. Can folks still hear me? I saw someone in the chat say the sound cut off. Okay, so yes, so nothing less than love. So I want you to, we're gonna make this another group poem in the chat, which says blank, nothing less than love. And I would like you to name your creative practice, your intentions. I will say, biography of the eternal life of Audre Lorde, nothing less than love. Every poem I write, nothing less than love. This conversation, nothing less than love. This is what I'm holding myself accountable to in every part of my creative process. Not to shut myself down, but to say what this is actually about. Love, that activating life force to move through. Yes? Okay, so say it. How I build community, nothing less than love. Ritual and honey, nothing less than love. The children I will bear, nothing less than love. My dissertation, nothing less than love. My ancestors, nothing less than love. Every dance I practice, nothing less than love. We did it. Okay, we're supposed to start the Q&A in 1 minute. Y'all are just right on it. So I want to say thank you, and just that these four steps. Oh, I'm hearing some feedback now. These four steps are for you. You can use them anytime. Say them one last time. Dedication. Who are you dedicated to? Dedication. Your work is what? Made manifest. Dedication. I release. I begin with this. And dedication. This is nothing less than love. That's it. That's it. That's the ritual. That's the prayer. That's the offering for you and your work forever. And yes, we are getting a bad echo. I don't know, Abdul. I just muted my external computer so that I'm not bouncing back to you.
Oh, okay.
I
Well,
don't I don't want them to
I don't want them to
get feedback, but
get feedback, but answer it now.
um, you can turn your mic off until you're ready to talk. I don't know if that will work, but I just wanted to say thank you. That was really beautiful. I just wanted to say that. I was very moved, and I could tell by reading the chats that everyone was moved. So again, what a gift you are to all of us just being here. I wanted folks in the room to know that part of the mission of the Hurston Wright Foundation is to unapologetically support Black writing and Black writers, and one way that we can do that is to have you all purchase books of our invited writers. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, there is a link to purchase one of Alexis's books. So I just wanted to let you all know that, so that you can click on it, purchase a book for yourself if you already have it, maybe for a friend. And towards the end of the program, I'll be sort of prompting you all to into a raffle. If you donate anything to the Hurston Wright Foundation, you'll automatically be put into a raffle, and we like to give books away. So that's been really fun to do. So I'm just going to take a breath and give you all an opportunity to put some questions. There's an Ask a Question link at the bottom of your screen. If you have questions for Alexis, please type them in. And I'm going to start us off by asking the first question, and then we can kind of go from there. How does that sound? Good? All right. So I was very struck by this idea of writing as a practice, because when you go to school, you learn to focus on literary devices and, all of this, the biography of the author. But the way that you talk about writing, the way that you present writing, it's almost like a spiritual practice. And I just wanted to thank you for that and have you maybe say a few words about how did you come to look at writing that way, as opposed to the other ways that some of us are kind of trained to look at writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Abdul, do you mind
Abdul,
muting
do you mind muting
because of the echo?
for the echo?
Yes, I need it.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
So wait, you're not
muted.
Oh.
but okay. So I like that question. I mean, I think that the way that I came into writing, I was just speaking about this with some students that I'm working with, and my grandfather was a man who loved poetry, and he would memorize every poem that he loved so he could have it, so he could hold it, so he could be prepared for that moment where that poem would be needed, and then he would recite the poem, right? This is what he did. And I learned later that Audre Lorde would memorize poems, and then she would allow the poems to speak for her when she was a child, and she didn't necessarily feel that she knew what to say when she first started to speak. And I think that has been instructive for me. I started writing by writing praise poems for my family members. I just felt that there was something that I wanted to describe that it required all my creativity, to describe my uncle's booming voice, to describe my father's eyes, what I understood when I looked into his eyes, to be able to describe these people who for me were epic, but were not always recognized as such by the outside world. That was my creative drive. So in fact, nothing less than love itself, the people that I love, that I wanted to honor through my writing. And so that has always been at the core. It's become broader than my immediate family, but it's also very still grounded in my ancestors and my family. And I love how, Lucille Clifton writes about her family as an example. And so for me, that's what it has always been about. And there's nothing ultimately, an award, these different forms of publication, these other things that happen later with writing have never been more important close to my spirit, rewarding than the actual opportunity to be in love and to honor somehow that love, which could never be described ultimately in words. It's beyond, it's incomprehensible, it's huge, but to be able to at least honor it with language, that is the whole point for me.
Thank you for that. Okay, so I'm going to not hog the mic and see what. Oh wow, we've had a lot of questions and folks are voting on those questions. The first one, what does the rigor of your personal daily writing sacred practice look like?
Yes,
Yes.
I love that question. So the rigor of it is, one, that it's the first thing that I do. So when I say it's my priority, it's not like metaphorically my priority, like it's first priority as in the first thing. It's the first thing that happens during the day. So I wake up, I generally wake up and it's dark. There's still stars out. I wake up around 4 or maybe 3 or maybe 5. I don't use an alarm, but it's like my ancestors get me up like, okay, girl, we ready. And I am immediately into that practice. So not email, not Twitter, not whatever it is. I'm in a meditative space and I'm listening. And I'm listening and my writing is what I hear. So it's the rigor of listening and showing up every single day. And so when I say every single day, it is every single day. And so part of the rigor for me is different than the fact that it's like, okay, I write for 20 hours and I'm in there, like it's not that every day. The rigor is that it happens every single day and it happens first, but sometimes it can only be 15 minutes. Like this MicroClass, sometimes it has to be a short amount of time in order for me to be able to still be with the commitment that I said every day. I said that. Nobody told me that I have to do this every day. But what I've found is that if I do it every day, there's a way that I'm never far from that creative source that I feel that I'm tapping into. If something happens and it's not able to happen, it's not like a judgment on myself. Like, I'm not rigorous. I must not be a writer. I must not be about my beliefs. It's really just that next morning, it feels harder for me to tap in. It's almost like I have to start over. And so the rigor of it is every single day. The rigor of it is first. To me, that's what's rigorous about it. And then the other thing that I think requires rigor is that I do have to get out of my way. I do have to not judge what comes through. I do have to stay with it, even if I'm like, I don't know how anybody's gonna understand this, or what does this have to do with this? Or I thought I was writing about, I have to get out of my way. And that's another form of rigor because, I've been trained to overanalyze. I have a tendency to be very much in my head. And I think that there's a form of receptivity, as June Jordan said, that also requires a lot of rigor to be open.
All right. Thank you for that, Alexis. Let's see. What do you think June Jordan meant about productivity versus practice?
I think
That when June Jordan was talking about receptivity, and she was saying, the creative spirit is there, right? And she's saying, not like you gotta wait till you feel some divine rush that comes into you, because that's not how. If you're just gonna wait for that and only write after that happens, that's not necessarily what she's saying is her commitment. What she's saying is that, no, it's not true that every time you sit down, you're gonna get the whole character of your novel is gonna just come to you and be like, hey, here I am. or you're going to get this whole poem that doesn't need any word change just coming to you. It does happen though. And what she's saying is that, and definitely what I have learned from it and my interpretation of it is that we continue to show up. Because what that experience teaches us is that it's not about just our conjuring up. It's not about just making up some stuff that sounds smart. It's about being open to a connection that's possible between us, between what we're doing and the world that we want to live in, the people who we get to be connected to through our artwork. And so I think that productivity is, what she's saying is she's displacing that we're just generating it. I think there's something that, especially in the context of the larger essay, where she's talking about greed and capitalism and what that has done to basically squash and tamp down love in children and in all of us. I think that there's an unlearning of the internalized capitalism that says, if I'm a poet, I'm a poem factory. I gotta just push them out. This is what it is. And if I don't do it, then I'm not a poet. For me, if I'm in my practice, if I'm waking up every morning and listening and doing my practice, which includes writing, I may not create something that I ever want any of you to read. It may not even be about that. It's about that space that I've committed to being in, of listening. And so there's, to me, I think that's part of the distinction that she's making, that sure, we're not gonna say that our creative practice is just like handed to us. Like every single thing is just gonna be a dream we have, we write it down, and then now it's a best-selling book and that's it. I think that receptivity includes just continuing to show up and be open to say, what is it? What is it today that I hear? Okay, what is it today? And sometimes what I hear is like, this is, Alexis, what you needed to hear so you could get over something in your life. And sometimes it's like, this is what you needed to hear so you know how the conversation you need to have with your sister needs to go. And sometimes it's something that it's like, oh, this is for the collective. This is for the tradition. This is to be shared beyond. But I might not know that day. So yeah, it's not about trying to make that happen. It's about being open to the creative spirit that June Jordan is telling us is equally about poetry as it is about mothering, as it is about, as someone wrote in the chat, being in right relationship with our community. These are beautiful.
Yeah, I hope you don't mind I don't feel like my face is necessary. So I hope you're not offended. Everyone will see your face. I like being behind the curtain. But some great questions coming through. So I want to make sure we get these two in. But the first one, as a single mother working full-time, I have difficulty finding the vital energy I need to be fully present. In the spare moments I have, I am often tired to the bone. Any advice to working moms who want to come to our practice with a full cup?
Yes. So this is so interesting because my daily practice is because of my beloved mentor, Asha Bandele, the great writer. Oh, y'all read everything by Asha Bandele. And when I was a teenager, she came and led a writing workshop at Karis Books, which is the bookstore where I grew up, which I think is the bookstore where you all are going to be buying these books from. Or I hope so. And the thing that she said, she was raising her daughter by herself. And like you said, it's like all day, as soon as the baby wakes up, it's like in it, and the exhaustion. And she said, I have to wake up, I have to do it like when nobody is pulling on my attention, which is hardly ever for her. I mean, this is an infant dependent on her for life. And that's where my morning practice comes from, because she would wake up early in the morning before her daughter would be up, and that was her practice. And it was as much a practice of commitment to who she was as a writer and her commitment to her art, as it was a very crucial space of getting to be herself, getting to be with herself in a way that allowed her to be more present throughout the rest of the full and exhausting day. And so I do not have, and I think, as people are saying in the chat, ancestor Tony, there is a long tradition. I mean, even Octavia Butler waking up before she going into the factory. There's a long tradition of folks making space for their writing, that it may not be a whole lot of space, but it is a space that is sacred because of the ways that we protect it. And that's the other thing about what I was saying about the rigor in the repetition, is saying it doesn't have to be that I have a luxurious 4 hours to go into this. Now, I want to in certain projects, and I want to have 4 hours, and I schedule it out. But if it can only be 10 minutes, it is still worthwhile to do it. It is still worthwhile to go there, as much to nourish myself as to meet any kind of idea about rigor in practice. This is what I would say. I love all these questions. Abdul, I'll just read the questions. I can see them. So we have, I think this whole thing is, how do you maintain a sacred daily writing practice? Which, Tony Kapenbar would say the most effective way to do it is to do it. What do I do specifically? I light a candle for my ancestors. I light a candle for myself, a nice aromatherapy candle I light for myself. I look at the sky. There's something, I feel like Toni Morrison said this too, there is something about being there as the sun comes up, as the light shifts. So I sit right here in this window, and I look myself in the eye, and I listen to a Black woman singing. This morning it was Yolanda Adams, and I do that. I do that first. It's like I'm opening my listening, and then comes the pen. And then the other thing I would say that I learned from another one of my teachers, Zelda Lockhart, is that having something there, like setting it up the night before, so that what I need is sitting there, and I don't have to be awake and like organizing it, because I don't even know awake organizing mode at 4 o'clock in the morning. For it to be sitting there is important in terms of maintaining it. And also allowing myself to be prompted. So for a long time, it was like I'm opening somebody else's book of poetry, and I'm finding a line, and I'm doing that type of prompt, which many people have done. Right now, I'm writing in conversation with photos in the photo albums that my mother gave me. And I'm specifically writing in response to pictures of me and my dad, who is an ancestor now. And so I know that that's the practice. So it's just the next picture. Figuring out what my practice is not what I do at 3, 4 in the morning. That's something I prepare myself for the night before. So whatever it's going to be, if I'm going to be prompted, like I was for this whole book, Dub, by a quote from Sylvia Wynter, I went through and read all the work and pulled out all these different quotes and made a notebook of them. And then when the morning comes, I just open the notebook and pick one, and I'm prompted from that, right? So allowing yourself to be prompted, knowing that we're always in relationship in our writing, I think is also important. And dissertation. For me, as this question says, as someone who has written a dissertation, what is your advice for making the process a ceremony? Dedication was the number one thing for that, because the dissertation is, for me, the dissertation is a space for writing as thinking. And I think that, I have coached people in the past around dissertations. I'm not doing it right now, but in the past I've done that. And one of the things that gets in our way the most is we're thinking about it as writing to communicate to somebody else, when it really is a writing for us to be able to think deeper about what we are doing. We have 5 more minutes of Q&A, I'm finding out. So So one, just to say, this is what this is about. This is really about me, through having to write about whatever this archive topic that I have decided is so important to me. This is my space to think about it through writing. This is what it is about. I reclaim that. This is not about me explaining what I already know to other people yet, right? Maybe you make a monograph out of that and then that becomes that, right? The other thing I would say is dedication. Every day, who am I writing this for? Who is my dedication for? So I can displace some of my anxiety about what's my committee going to think, my anxiety about, you know, how I'm overthinking and rethinking everything because of how violent the graduate school classroom is. All of that, it's like, wait a minute, why am I writing this? Oh yeah, the world I want my niece to live in. That is a generative place for me to write from. And that is what's actually at stake. It allows the context for the ceremony to actually be what it is, what made me go through and do all this in the first place. So yes, that's my advice. My advice is remembering what it is and dedicating every single time you sit with it, dedicating to displace, whether it's just the noise or whether it's specifically the fear of people within your institution that you are trying to think what they're going to think about what you write before you write it, so then you can't write anything. If that's your experience. I don't think I'm the only one. Yes. Okay, so we have the comment for the fourth step, which is what we did as our group poem, Nothing Less Than Love. And more thoughts on how to maintain, we got 3 minutes, what June Jordan calls staying humble with the gifts the creative spirit bestows while still being an unpublished or beginner writing. This is really good. And so I'm going to speak also at the same time to this coming from a toxic family that discourages creative practice. Yes, have to create our own inner voice. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so I would say staying humble is very different from self-disparaging. And so staying humble with the gifts that the creative spirit gives is not about silencing ourselves. It's not about not honoring how amazing it is. It is really about knowing that there is something bigger than us, that what comes through us does not come from us. It really comes through us. And what an honor that is. There's a humility in that because it's like, oh, love is so big. And I'm able to hold a part of it like my grandfather could hold those poems and I can offer it. This is what it is. It's not about my ego and my brain about like, I said this, so that means I'm smart. Oh, I wrote that. Well, that must mean I'm good. That for me is what this stay humble is getting at. And so as an unpublished and beginning writer, it's also starting from that point that your practice is worthy as your practice because you're being a space for love to come through. So it's not about when and whether you're published. It's not about who sees this as a marketable idea at what point. Those things, if they happen, you navigate them then, but it's really about understanding that you're saying yes for love to come through. You're saying yes to that and allowing that to happen. And I would say this also in terms, because we have 1 minute, in terms of this, the trauma that can silence our creative voices, situations where we were silenced and told that we should not speak because what we had to say was dangerous and could interrupt cycles of trauma. This is what I'm seeing in your question. I think that it's so healing to be able to listen under, to be able to rededicate our bodies, our time, and our lives to what I would say is their function. June Jordan says, love is life force. It's the whole point. We are alive. What is moving through us is love. And so what we were told and what we are continuing, because we all in a toxic family called capitalism, right? What we're being told continually in our most vulnerable places is that that's not what our body is for. That's not what our time is for. Our time is to produce for someone else. Our body is to receive and hold this hurt that's being passed down for generations. And we get to say it. Love is life force. My time, my body, my practice, nothing less than love. And I make it true because I show up and I say yes to love every day. That's what I do first. So yeah, that's what I would say. Thank you so much for these questions. They're so inspiring.
Well, and thank you, Alexis. I think we hear the word love overused, and maybe even abused, but just this evening hearing you say it, I felt like you meant it each time, and it was new each time. And may we all be more intentional when we practice love, So I'm just all in my feels. Thank you so much for your gifts. I can't wait to read your work and engage you, on the page. And thank you for continuing the tradition of Zora Neale Hurston and Alice Walker and June Jordan and all of these wonderful, courageous Black women writers. So thank you so much. I want to take this time to just let everyone know that Hurston Wright, we are in our 30th year, and that is no easy thing to do. And we wouldn't be able to do it without our people, without the community. So at this time, if we were back in Langston's day, Zora Neale Hurston's day, we'd be crowded in one of those New York apartments, and maybe there'd be a brown paper bag going around, and we'd put some folding money in it. But since we're in a virtual space, we have this lovely tool, and I just want to ask to support the foundation in whatever is comfortable for you. And we're also doing a raffle. We're doing one, I think, as often as we can this week. Anyone who gives will randomly get entered into a raffle, and we're going inside our vault and we're giving back books to all of you. So I just get very emotional when it comes to talking about the foundation. I started out as an intern 15 years ago, and it's like that relationship that just won't quit, and that's a good thing. So I encourage you to follow us on social media, figure out how you can get involved. There's a lot of work ahead of us, because when you're 30, you're no longer staying at home living with your mom, right? When you're 30 years old organization, you're out in the world doing big things, and we need to fall back on our family, to hold us up for the next 30 years. So I wanted to thank you again, Alexis, and I wanted to invite each of you to join us tomorrow. We have an open mic. This is our first virtual open mic, so that should be exciting. You can get information. They're all posted on our social media platforms, and if you're on our mailing list, then you would have gotten information about that. We have a micro workshop on Wednesday with one of our founders, Marita Golden. She's talking about voice, so please join us for that. Same time, 6 p.m. And then on Thursday, we will have one of our Writers Week instructors, Emily Bernard, doing a micro class. And then on Friday, we have a diversity in publishing panel. So we have an editor of an imprint, we have marketing people, we have literary agents. So this is the place, to get information about how you can navigate, as you say, that toxic family called capitalism, right? There's the art and then there's commerce, right? So if you're trying to cross the street to the commerce side, we want you to be well equipped. Okay? At Hurston Wright, we love all of our folks who've supported us over the years. Thank you so much for joining us for this micro workshop. Thank you, Alexis, for giving yourself.
And I forgot to say something.
Oh, please, yes.
Which is this was so short. But I have like a 2-day course around supporting daily creative practice. So I'm just putting a link in the chat if people want to stretch out.
Okay, and also your book, we have a link to it, Dub. So please support Alexis Pauline Gumbs and purchase her book. And also support the foundation. All right? That part, right? All right, thank you so much. I'm going to put that link back out there. And I hope to see you all for the open mic tomorrow, Tuesday, 6 p.m. Be there or be square. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, y'all.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.